When you look at the world today, everyone wants success. Everyone wants freedom, respect, money, happiness. But let me tell you the truth that most people don't like to hear. 90% of people will fail and only 10% will win. Why? Because dreams are cheap. Discipline is expensive. It is easy to sit with friends and talk about ideas. It is easy to scroll social media and say, one day I will also live like this. That when the alarm rings at 5:00 a.m., 90% of people press the snooze button. When challenges come, 90% of people complain instead of fighting. When life demands sacrifice, 90% of people choose comfort. That is why success is not crowded. It is only reserved for the few who are willing to pay the price. Understand this: life doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you work for. And the reason most people fail is not because they are not intelligent. Some of the most talented people I've met are broke. The real reason is lack of discipline, lack of persistence, and lack of courage. The 90% live in fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of trying something new. The 10%, they are different. They are not born different. They decide to be different. They decide that no matter how many times they fall, they will rise. They decide that no excuse is stronger than their dream. They decide that comfort is temporary, but growth is forever. Think about this. Every successful person you admire today was once unknown, broke, or struggling. The difference is they didn't stop. While the 90% said, the 10% said, let's try one more time. While the 90% waited for motivation, the 10% built discipline. And here is the greatest secret. Success doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in the small, boring daily actions. It's not the one big decision. It's the 1,000 small decisions you make every day. To wake up earlier, to study longer, to take that risk, to keep going when everyone else quits. That's what separates the winners from the losers. If you want to win, stop blaming your parents, your country, your government, your boss, your environment. Stop waiting for miracles. Winners don't wait for opportunities. They create opportunities. They don't complain about the storm. They learn how to sail in the storm. That is why only 10% win. They are willing to do what the other 90% refuse to do. So today, I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I living like the 90% who just talk, or like the 10% who actually do? Because the world doesn't care about your excuses. The world only respects results, and those results are in your hands if you are ready to pay the price. Most people in life fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they carry the wrong mindset. The difference between the 90% who fail and the 10% who succeed is not luck. It is not background. It is not even education. It is mindset. Your mind is either your greatest asset or your greatest enemy. When you think small, you live small. When you fear risks, you never grow. When you give up too quickly, you destroy your own chances before life has even tested you. This is why the majority of people, no matter how big they dream at the start, slowly settle into mediocrity. Look at the 90%. They talk a lot about their dreams. They make promises to themselves. They make plans. They even get excited in the beginning. But the moment the road gets tough, their mindset collapses. They start saying, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I am not good enough. Maybe I should try something easier. Their mind creates excuses that sound logical, but in reality, these excuses are chains that keep them trapped. They want comfort more than growth. They want certainty more than progress. So they fail not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. Now look at the 10%. They are not superhuman. They also have doubts. They also feel fear. They also fail. But their mindset is built differently. When problems come, they don't ask, why me? They ask, what can I learn? When they fall, they don't see it as an ending. They see it as training. Their mind does not see failure as loss. It sees failure as tuition fees for success. The same wall that stops the 90% becomes the stepping stone for the 10%. It is not the world that is unfair. It is the mindset. that decides how far you can go. A poor mindset sees risk as danger. A rich mindset sees risk as opportunity. That is why the 90% stay stuck. They want guarantees before they act. They want someone to tell them, yes, this will work. But life never gives guarantees. Life only rewards those who are willing to try even without certainty. 10% know this truth. So they take risks. They fail. They learn, and eventually they grow stronger. Think of it like planting seeds. The 90% want the fruit immediately. They get frustrated if the tree doesn't grow in 1 week. So they quit and throw the seed away. But the 10% keep watering, keep waiting, They understand that growth is invisible in the beginning. But if they persist, the seed will one day break through the ground and become a tree. The mindset of patience, persistence, and vision is what makes them winners. The 90% take rejection personally. They stop trying because one person said no. They believe that if the world doesn't immediately support them, it means they are not capable. But the 10% see rejection as normal, even necessary. They understand that every no brings them closer to the right lies. They don't give their power to others' opinions. Their mindset is independent. And let's talk about fear. Fear is the biggest prison of the 90%. They fear failure. They fear criticism. They fear being different. They want to fit in. And by trying to fit in, they kill their own uniqueness. The 10%, on the other hand, embrace fear. They feel it, but they don't let it control them. They walk into the unknown because they know that fear is just a sign that they are growing. If you look closely, you'll realize that the mindset of the 90% is about avoiding pain, while the mindset of the 10% is about embracing growth. One avoids, the other adapts. One quits, the other persists. One complains, the other creates. This is why the gap between them grows larger over time. Don't lose in one day. It is a slow process of giving up piece by piece, excuse by excuse, until their potential is buried. The 10% don't win in one day either. It is a slow process of trying, failing, learning, and growing until their victory becomes undeniable. So the truth is, success is not about resources. It is about mindset. Two people can have the same talent, the same opportunity, the same environment, but one will rise and the other will fall simply because of the way they think. If you want to be in the 10%, you must train your mind to persist when others quit, to see opportunity when others see risk, to keep going when everyone else quits. Your mindset is the foundation of your destiny. Protect it, train it, and discipline it, because in the end, your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts. Most people believe success is about motivation. They think if they watch an inspiring video, read a powerful quote, or listen to a moving story, suddenly their life will change. Motivation feels good. Yes, it can ignite a spark in your heart. But here's the truth. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. If you want to succeed, you cannot depend on short bursts of motivation. You need the daily strength of discipline. Motivation is like a flame from a matchstick. It burns bright for a moment, but dies out quickly. Discipline is like a steady fire in a furnace. It keeps burning no matter how long the journey. Who fail rely only on motivation. They start strong, but they cannot finish strong because when the excitement fades, their actions fade too. They wait for the next motivational push to keep moving. But life does not reward those who move only when they feel like it. Life rewards those who keep going even when they don't feel like it. Discipline means you do what is necessary, not what is convenient. It means showing up to work when you are tired. It means studying when your friends are partying. It means training your mind and body to follow your vision instead of your emotions. Emotions are unstable. They go up and down every day, but discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates success. Think about health. Everyone wants to be fit. Everyone feels motivated at the start of a new year to exercise, eat clean, and take care of their body. But how many people continue after 1 month? Very few. That is because they rely on motivation. The winners know the secret. It is not about motivation. It is about habits. You don't need to feel motivated to brush your teeth every morning. You just do it because it has become a discipline. In the same way, success comes when success habits become a part of your daily routine. Discipline is boring. That is why the majority avoid it. Waking up early every day is boring. Reading books instead of watching endless entertainment is boring. Repeating the same practice until you master it is boring. Boring process is what builds greatness. The 90% want excitement. They want shortcuts. They want overnight results. The 10% embrace boredom. They embrace discipline. They embrace the process. That is why the 10% win. Another truth is that discipline protects you from yourself. Everyone has moments of weakness. Everyone has days when they feel lazy, unmotivated, or distracted. If you rely only on motivation, those weak days will destroy your progress. But if you build discipline, you can push through even on your worst days. Is the bridge between your goals and your result. Without it, you will always stop halfway. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. The 90% say, I don't feel like doing it today. The 10% say, it doesn't matter how I feel. I will do it anyway. Winners are not those who feel motivated every day. They are those who stay disciplined every day. Success does not ask how you feel. Success asks what you are willing to do repeatedly, without excuses, until you get the results. The truth is, everyone has motivation at some point, but only a few transform it into discipline. And discipline comes with sacrifice. You may have to sacrifice sleep, sacrifice comfort, sacrifice entertainment. But remember this, the pain of discipline is far lighter than the pain of regret. You can suffer for a short while through discipline and build the life you want, or you can avoid discipline and suffer a lifetime of regret. The choice is always yours. Winners are not addicted to motivation. They are addicted to progress. They know that small steps every day, even if they are not exciting, compound into massive success. This is why the 10% continue to grow while the 90% keep restarting their journey again and again. The 9% are like people who keep lighting matches, hoping the flame will last forever. The 10% are the ones who build a fire and feed it daily, with discipline. So ask yourself, do you want to be someone who feels good for a moment, or someone who achieves results that last forever? If you truly want success, stop chasing motivation and start building discipline. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Discipline is not about feeling inspired. It is about being committed. And discipline is not about today's emotions. It is about tomorrow's vision. Remember, this motivation may get you started. Only discipline will get you finished. Failure is one of the most powerful teachers in life, yet it is also the most feared. Most people see failure as an enemy, as a signal that they are not good enough, as proof that they should quit. This is why 90% of people fail in the long run. They misunderstand failure. They think failure is the opposite of success, when in reality, failure is part of success. The people who win are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who learn from it. The truth is, failure is unavoidable. No matter how smart you are, no matter how careful you are, you will fail at something in life. You will make mistakes. You will miscalculate. You will be rejected. The difference between winners and losers is how they respond to failure. The losers repeat the same mistakes and then blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. The winners stop, reflect, and ask, what can I learn from this? How can I improve next time? That is the dividing line between the 90% and the 10%. Think about a child learning to walk. The child will fall hundreds of times before finally walking confidently. But never once does the child say, walking is not for me. They never quit. They never blame. They simply keep trying, learning from every fall until balance becomes natural. As adults, we forget this truth. We fall once, twice, maybe 3 times, and we immediately say, I guess I'm not good enough. This is the mindset that traps people in mediocrity. The winners still think like that child. They treat failure as practice, not as proof of defeat. The 90% also make the mistake of taking failure personally. When something doesn't work out, they attach it to their identity. They say, I am a failure. But failure is not a person. It is an event. It is simply feedback that something in your method,
your timing or your approach did not work. The winners know this, so they don't let failure define them. They let failure refine them. Another problem with the 90% is that they blame others. If they lose money, they blame the economy. If they don't get the job, they blame the interview. If their plan fails, they blame their friends for not supporting them. This blame game gives away their power, because if the problem is always outside of you, you will never have the strength to change. The winners take responsibility even when the failure is not entirely their fault. They ask, what could I have done differently? What lesson is hidden here? This responsibility gives them control, and control gives them growth. Failure also builds resilience. Every time you fail and rise again, the 90% don't understand. They see failure as an end, so they stop trying after a few setbacks. The 10% see failure as training. Each failure increases their toughness, sharpens their skills, and prepares them for bigger challenges. Success is heavy. You cannot carry it unless failure has made you strong. The truth is, behind every success story is a series of failures. Great businesses were built after dozens of failed attempts. Great leaders made mistakes that could have broken them, but they used those mistakes as lessons. Great innovations came after countless errors. But history doesn't remember the failures. It remembers the victories that grew out of them. The 90% quit before history can ever remember them. The 10% endure the failures until they finally create a story worth telling. Failure also teaches humility. You fail, you realize you don't know everything. It keeps your ego in check. It forces you to stay a student, and it reminds you that growth never stops. The losers see failure as humiliation. The winners see failure as education. This is why the 10% are constantly evolving, while the 90% remain stuck in the same place. Ask yourself this: do you fear failure so much that you avoid trying, or do you understand that every failure brings you closer to success? If you want to be among the winners, you must change your relationship with failure. Instead of running from it, study it. Instead of denying it, accept it. Instead of repeating it, learn from it. The reality is simply, if you are not failing, you are not trying hard enough. If everything you do feels safe and comfortable, you are not growing. The winners fail more often than the losers, not because they are less capable, but because they are more willing to try. The more you try, the more you fail, but the more you learn. And the more you learn, the closer you get to winning. So remember this: failure is not your enemy. Fear of failure is mistakes will happen, setbacks will come, but each one carries a lesson that can push you closer to your goal. Only those who are brave enough to fail are strong enough to succeed. One of the biggest reasons most people fail is because they wait. They wait for the right time. They wait for the right opportunity. They wait for someone to come and guide them. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. If you keep waiting, the 90% waste their best years planning, doubting, and hesitating, while the 10% act. They understand that action creates clarity, and clarity creates success. You will never know all the answers before you begin. The only way to figure it out is to take the first. The 90% want guarantees before they move. They want to see the entire road before they take the first. But life doesn't work like that. The road only reveals itself as you walk. The winners know this, so they don't wait until they are fully ready. They start with what they have where they are. They act, they make mistakes, and they adjust, and they keep moving forward. That is adaptability. That is why they win. Action is more powerful than intention. The 90% have good intentions. They say, one day I'll start a business. One day I'll write that book. One day I'll chase my dream. But one day never comes because they never take action. The 10% don't just talk. They do. They don't just dream. They build. Even if their first attempt is small or imperfect, they understand that action beats inaction every single time. The truth is, success belongs to those who act faster, changes quickly, opportunities don't wait forever, technology shifts, markets evolve, life moves forward. The 90% lose because they are too slow. They keep analyzing, they keep hesitating, and by the time they make a move, the opportunity is gone. The 10% succeed because they move fast. They take the chance. Even if they fail, they learn faster than everyone else. They are not afraid to adapt, to adjust, to reinvent themselves. Adaptability is the second half of success. Action alone is not enough. You must be flexible enough to change direction when needed. The 90% fail because they are stubborn in the wrong way. They cling to old methods, old beliefs, old habits. They say this is how it has always been done, and they resist change. But the world does not wait for their resistance. The winners embrace change. They are not afraid to let go of old ways and adopt new strategies. They know that survival is not about strength. It is about adaptability. Think of water. Water is powerful because it adapts. It can flow through cracks. It can take any shape. It can break rocks over time. Winners have the mindset of water. They don't fight change. They flow with it. That is why they survive storms that destroy others. The 90% break under pressure because they resist. The 10% bend, adjust, and come back stronger. Is that the 90% confuse action with perfection? They want everything to be perfect before they start. They want the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect resources. But perfection is an illusion. If you wait for perfection, you will never move. The winners don't chase perfection. They chase progress. They launch imperfectly, then improve along the way. They adapt to feedback. They evolve with circumstances, and they grow stronger with each step. Action also creates momentum. Once you take the first step, the second step becomes easier, and then the third, and soon you are moving forward with speed. Never experience momentum because they never start. They are paralyzed by fear, overthinking, and waiting. But the 10% trust the process. They know momentum only comes when you act, not when you think about acting. And here is the greatest truth. The future does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the fastest learners. The 90% believe that once they have a degree or some knowledge, they can rely on it forever. But the world changes too fast for that. Winners are constantly adapting. They are learning, unlearning, and relearning. They don't say, I already know enough. They say, how can I adjust? What can I do better? What is changing around me that I need to understand? This adaptability is why they stay ahead. If you want to win, you must stop waiting for the perfect time. Start now with what you have. Take action, make mistakes, and learn. And when change comes, don't resist it. Embrace it. Those who adapt grow stronger. Those who resist become irrelevant. The 90% fail because they wait and resist. The 10% win because they act and adapt. Remember this, life rewards the doers, not the dreamers. The world does not wait for you to be ready. It moves forward with or without you. If you want to be part of the 10% who succeed, stop waiting, start acting, and never stop adapting. That is the path of progress. So my friends, here is the truth. Life will always divide people into two groups, the 90% and the 10%. The 90% live in fear. They wait for chances. They run from failure. They look for motivation. And they quit when things get tough. The 10% are not born lucky. They are not born special. They simply choose a different mindset. They choose discipline over excuses. They choose action over waiting. They choose learning over blaming. They choose to adapt when life changes. Success does not come to those who hope, comes to those who fight. It does not belong to those who want comfort. It belongs to those who embrace challenges. Every dream has a price, and only those willing to pay that price will ever taste the reward. You cannot expect to win if you think like the 90. You cannot expect greatness if you live with excuses, fear, and laziness. But here's the beauty of life. The choice is always open. No matter who you are, where you come from, or what you have, you can decide today to move into. You can decide to be disciplined, to take action, to embrace failure, and to keep adapting. You can decide to rise. So as you leave here today, ask yourself one powerful question. Do I want to remain with the 90% who only talk, or do I want to join the 10% who actually win? Because the answer you give will decide your future. Success is not far. It is waiting, but it is waiting only for those who are ready to act with courage, discipline, and vision. The 10% live differently. And that is why